There is so much happening right now that I will be glad to have some input from the Redditors. For context, I, 31 female, have an estranged relationship with my sister Becky, 28 female. Not her real name, obviously. Becky was born as a premature baby and was brought home after several weeks at NICU, which led to my parents spoiling her rotten. Becky was raised with everything being handed over to her on a silver platter. I grew up hearing, "You are the older sister. You need to be responsible for your poor sister. Don't be a selfish brat. You need to learn to share things with your siblings." And all the possible variations of it. Becky always got what she wanted within a heartbeat, while I and my younger brother Sam, 25 female, had to settle with whatever our parents decided was the best for us. She had to be the center of attraction at all times, be it at her birthday parties or at our birthday parties, when we had to step aside so she could blow out the candles on our birthday cakes. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I can literally write the stuff amounting to an entire novel about the favoritism we experience at the hands of our parents. The crazy thing is, I accepted this treatment to be normal and believed that Becky deserved all the nice stuff. Everything changed when I was 20 and I caught her with my then boyfriend in mid-action on my bed. There was a lot of screaming and yelling on both sides, with me in total disbelief that my baby sister had the gall to backstab me in this manner. In the middle of the argument, Becky had what she claimed as a panic attack, which led my parents to swoop in and lead her away, while chastising me for not being mature and understanding about my poor sister's delicate state. It was at that moment that I realized that my parents would always prioritize Becky over everything else. The following week, I moved out and stayed in the house of my childhood friend and now fiance, David, 31 male. I tried to contact my parents after moving out in the hopes of reconciliation, only to end up in a yelling match with them as they refused to see my perspective, even denying the fact that Becky was faking her panic attack. I thought this whole betrayal was the worst, but soon I was proven wrong. Becky would come to my part-time job as a cashier at a store, all draped over my ex. She would deliberately make out with him in front of me at the store, not paying any heed to the stink eyes and icy glares directed towards them. She even went as far as to spread rumors that I slept with the TAs and lecturers for higher grades. Thankfully, my friend's circle shut the rumors out very quickly. However, all these happenings made me grow more depressed. I wouldn't have made it through college if not for David and my friends, whom I am absolutely undeserving of. 2 years back, my father's sudden death made me reach out to my mother, with whom I was no contact since that incident. My mother seemed apologetic about the whole affair, and I felt confident enough to let her into my life while resolving our issues. I made no secret about Becky's malicious actions and informed her that Becky was no longer to be mentioned in my presence, nor she will be present in my life. My mother seemed fine about it. Now, from the past year, I have been planning for my wedding, which is to be held next month. Last week, my mother invited me to her place on the pretext of wedding arrangements. When I reached her place, I was greeted by not only my mother, but my aunts as well. The discussion on wedding arrangements seemingly began on a good note, only to divert towards my sister's attendance at the wedding. Needless to say, I refused to invite her. Then, on cue, the waterworks started, with my mother pleading through tears. At this point, I was frustrated with her desperate attempt to corner me along with my aunts. I hurried out of the place as my mother ran after me, yelling something about family and whatnot. I ended up discussing the whole matter with David, my brother, my in-laws, and my best friend. Recounting all those details only reiterated that my mother would always prioritize Becky and my emotions and feelings were never accounted for. So yesterday, I decided to call her for the last time to inform her that her invitation has been revoked. Shortly after the call, my phone began ringing incessantly, with almost all the relatives calling to inform me that I am an ungrateful daughter, a childish person, and so on. So Redditors, am I the a-hole? So, I did not expect the post to gain this amount of attention. To answer the ones who asked about the relationship between my brother and our mom, he remained in touch with me the whole time and went low contact with them as soon as he turned 18, with a major fallout with my sister being the final straw. Now, on to the actual update. As many of you guessed, my mother had totally twisted the story to her benefit. She had basically retold the whole incident as a fight over a guy, which ended sorely with me storming out of the house to go live with a friend. All these lies came crashing down when an aunt of mine called my brother to blast him for supporting me. My brother set the record straight by narrating the whole ordeal on the phone for my aunt to hear. According to him, you could hear the pin drop silence on the other end. My brother went a step further and sent her the screenshots of some of the message exchange between him and Becky during their fallout. My brother is uncomfortable with posting the details of the said fallout on Reddit, in which details of whatever happened between me and her are clear. Hopefully, this will stop them from bugging me for this. So, some interesting developments have taken place. My mother has been reamed by several family members for twisting the story, and now, almost all of them are on my side. My mother still has some relatives supporting her even after all the drama, who are trying to guilt trip me and my brother with several messages. They have all been effectively blocked from all channels of communication. What should be the planning for one of the happiest days of my life has turned into a freaking show. I can only hope that this will be the last of the updates. It seems the universe had a different plan for me today. I had gone to meet the wedding planner with my mother-in-law and my best friend, and my maid of honor, to discuss the marriage. Upon nearing the street where my home was located, I was flabbergasted as I spotted my mother's car parked near the driveway from a distance. My best friend decided to approach her and convince her to stay away from me. So, while I sat in my car, hidden from my mother's view, my best friend walked over to my mother. After what seemed like ages, but only around 45 minutes, she messaged me that the coast was clear. After we settled into the house, my friend began to recount the details of her conversation with my mother. It seems that my sister had some unsavory experiences at college thanks to her stuck-up attitude, with the chief of them being my ex cheating on her with another girl, leaving her with a broken heart and an STD. News of her being infected with the STD spread at a great speed amongst her circle of friends and casual acquaintances. Now, my sister had apparently pissed off a number of people who were waiting for a suitable opportunity to bring her down. Rumors were mixed with half-truths to lend credibility and were spread with greater speed in her campus, which really jeopardized her education. Becky was not able to digest all this and ended up transferring to a new college away from her home. Apparently, she signed up for a counselor over there, something which wasn't possible here, as my parents did not believe in counseling and had a good wake-up call of some sort, which encouraged her to cease contact with my mother. It seems she had gone no contact with my mother after my father's death. According to my mother, she seems to greatly regret what she did in the past. When the issue of my marriage came up, my mother had a brilliant plan: to have her invited to my marriage to force reconciliation. However, my refusal to invite her ended up foiling her plans to have her favorite child reunited with her. Anyway, my friend stated that the decision to invite whoever from the bride's side is mine and want her in no uncertain terms that she will be exposed on social media for the whole world to see the next time she approaches me. Honestly, I have some mixed feelings regarding the whole affair. While I am sure that I do not want either of them at my wedding, I do feel a little sympathy for my sister for going through all those things. Then again, I am reminded of my ordeal, where my sister went to great lengths to hurt me deliberately. I adored her as my sweet little sister. I had hoped that she will turn a new leaf, till the day I learned that she was spreading rumors about me. That was the day when I was totally crushed and inconsolable. It was David who encouraged me to seek a counselor and later a therapist. Without his and my friend's support, I would have been an emotional wreck. I hope she will be able to work on her issues with her therapist and become a decent person in that process. Maybe in the future, I will be open to reconciling with her, but right now, I am far from ready to meet her. As many of you advised, we had a meeting set up with the vendors and the wedding planner, and passwords were set. We have arranged to have security during the wedding and the reception. Not the a-hole. OP, you have done the right thing by not bowing to your mother's demands. She has clearly tried to manipulate the situation in her favor by pushing you to a corner in the presence of your aunts. You might want to check the subreddit r/raised by narcissists. Not the a-hole, but I think it would be better if you clarified the whole situation with your aunts and other relatives. To be frank, it's weird that many of your relatives are supporting that homewrecker sister of yours, and your mother as well. It's not uncommon for people to twist the truth or blatantly lie in such situations. To begin, I'd say I love wearing scarves in my hair. But my boyfriend is not the kind who gives gifts, at all. It was odd when he randomly showed up at my place with a scarf, though nothing to complain about. The scarf had some stains on it, but it was very beautiful. I washed it, and it immediately became my favorite. Fast forward a few days, I went to his parents' place to discuss our wedding. I noticed his sister was heavily focused on the scarf. Then suddenly she got up, walked towards me, and tried pulling it off me, saying if I really wanted her scarf, I could have asked her instead of stealing it. I was shocked and confused and told her that my boyfriend gave it to me, but she refused to listen and kept calling me a liar. She even said that she recognized it because it had the nail polish stains she once dropped on it. I took it off, threw it at her, and left before my boyfriend joined us. He later called me asking me where I was, and I told him I got home. When he returned, we got into a huge fight. I might be the a-hole as I didn't give him a chance to explain. He said that he'd bring the scarf back, but I told him I didn't want it anymore. He said that I was being unreasonable over a little misunderstanding. So am I the a-hole for refusing to take it back and not talking to my boyfriend anymore? I didn't add the necessary information in the original post. He told me that it was actually his mom's, that she gave it to his sister. That was years ago. She didn't even wear it. In fact, he found it in the storeroom and thought he should give it to me instead of it being thrown away. Not the a-hole. Tell your boyfriend that if he wants to give you a gift, he should go buy it and not steal it. Technically, you were guilty of receiving stolen property as a result of his actions. Sure, the scarf may not have the worth for it to be a big deal, but you were totally humiliated. Not the a-hole. This happened to me but with a necklace. Ex gifted me a pretty necklace. I wore it. Friend saw it and said it looked like the one she had. We checked, and it was hers. The catch on the chain was slightly loose in a way she described before seeing the back. It was unquestionably her necklace. The dude had asked to borrow it from her a week before and then given it to me. We were both pissed off as hell. He became an ex, and thankfully, she got her property back. Your sister-in-law could have spoken to you before accusing you outright. Most people don't wear stolen items in front of their owners, and there could have been another explanation, especially if you haven't been in her room or don't have access to her things. She was over the top and obviously angry, but your, and I hope about to be ex-boyfriend, put you both in a terrible situation. He stole from her, gave it to you, and let you walk around his sister wearing the scarf without ever mentioning where he got it. That's messed up. He's either oblivious to how that looks, or he's calculating, and you need to think hard about being with him. You deserve better than a stolen stained scarf. I, male 16, have an older, female 20 sister who lives a day's drive from where my female 45, male 51 parents and I live. 2 years ago, she moved out of the house for university, and we still called her and even visited her place now and then. That is, until a month ago when she suddenly went zero contact with us. Backstory, important later on. Her relationship with our parents is a bit messy. They would go off on each other, and I couldn't do anything but hear their antics and dumb drama. She saw me as someone that I could trust, and has told me things about her and our parents. Our parents saw education as a must, and told us to study hard. To them, dropping out, temporary or permanent, or failing/low marks is a shame on them. My parents also fight and argue a lot, and aren't afraid of letting me get the front seat. They bring up each other's past all the time, and it's annoying, whether that be cheating, to paying for her tuition/rent, amongst others. Back to the main topic. It happened to be close to her 20th birthday, so we wanted to pay a surprise visit to her. The thing is, we didn't know what her address was. She changed apartments, which started a huge argument with my mom arguing with my dad and blaming him for us not knowing what her address was. Telling him that he should have gone with her and dropped her off instead of going out with a random ass people while we were out. He turned it on her, asking her why she couldn't call her for the info. That is what started everything. Here's a shitty summary. We tried calling her and emailing her, but Dad went to the police and pulled the do X or Y happens. Found out that she dropped out and went into hiding. She told me some more, as she trusted me more than them. This is where I may have effed up. Later, my parents and I were in the living room, and when my parents pulled the classic arguing card out of their asses, one of the main points was why she, my sister, left us without notice. They were talking about possible reasons why she did it. At this point, I was effing furious about them being delusional as F and not reaching the root and getting to the point. So I blurted out and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, mother effers, you scared her. You pressured her. You created effing scenarios in her head, goddammit. No wonder she doesn't like you. Who's your next target? Me?" The next thing I knew, I was arguing with my parents and them telling me why I shouldn't put my nose into other people's lives, and us going off on each other like my sister's done before. I had enough of their bullshit, so I told them to go F themselves, went up to my room, and acted like your classic male teenager. Male 39, uncle, found out the whole situation, and I told him what happened. He has my back, pissing off my parents even more. My parents call me in the wrong for ruining them. It's almost like they could have given an F and paid attention and looked at themselves, but they refused to look in the mirror. That got them here. Am I the a-hole? I'm gonna offer you some unsolicited advice. It might not apply, but it might help. I grew up in your house from about the age of 11. I used to hear my parents drunkenly tear each other apart on an almost nightly basis. Sometimes I'd put myself in the middle of them to stop it. Other times I'd scream at them from the top of the stairs to stop, but it never did. At age 18, a few weeks before I left for uni, and I asked my dad point blank how long he thought they'd last now, I wasn't there as a slight check on their behavior, and he shrugged and said he didn't know. What I didn't know at that time was the deep psychological damage witnessing that for an extended period of time had done to me. When confronted with any sort of intimacy from the opposite sex, I shut down completely. Looking back, it was effectively a flight or fight response. Additionally, whilst in some ways I was extremely mature, emotionally my growth had been very stunned, and it took even longer for me to be emotionally in the right place that I could be a good partner. I never got therapy. I somehow worked through this on my own, and I regret that. Therapy was never talked about. I never even thought about it, but looking back, it would have been incredibly helpful. If you can, it would be worth talking to someone about what you've experienced, and good luck. Not the a-hole. Well, isn't it the consequences of their actions? I'm sorry, OP. I'm not sure of a solution. Technically, you're stuck with them for a bit longer, depending on where you are. Maybe you can go live with your uncle? I'm not sure I have advice in this situation, but I don't blame you for cracking and telling them like it is.